Hello, it's Kalecgoose here, giving you a new video on the changes that have been made in Path of Exile. To get right into it, they actually came up with new aspirational content, much harder things that scale further into the in-game I suppose they're adding like harder in-game to combat the whole power creep thing, even though they tried to take away power creep earlier, but I kind of respect that they're doing both at the same time. We're getting harder breachstones through the use of flawless breachstones, and all breachstones will now have modifiers starting at pure that aren't build disabling, so there won't be like cannot leech, reflect, cannot regen, etc. The loot now drops at the end of all the breaches, and very good new uniques are dropping there. We're getting a harder blight through ravaged blight maps, which is actually I believe that those maps are going to drop exclusively through actual blighted maps, not blighted encounters from Cassia throughout any maps or whatever. Simulacrums are going to go further, up to wave 30 now, which is going to scale insanely hard. That is going to be some group play shenanigans required for that to be functional, I think. That's going to be, it's going to be some difficult content. Apparently they're also going to be dropping more uniques per run as well, the further you progress past wave 20. You can also encounter each boss more than once per simulacrum now. New Uber 5-way encounter. They're adding new timeless emblems that are going to be dropping from the actual original 5-way encounter. I don't know if it's going to drop from 3-way, 2-way if you use only one emblem, but what we do know is that they're going to be significantly harder, and every time you reset, they're going to have more life, more damage, more LE pin, etc., etc., and it's going to be probably out of control very quickly. They're coming up with 6 new uniques that are insanely cool. Chris told the team we're only coming out with really good uniques, and so they came up with a new belt that's going to be absolutely insane. Endless magic utility flasks, new gloves for killing enemies when they die from friendlies. It counts as your kill, so it might be good for really juicy MF type things. There's an amulet with no stats, but you can annoy 4 things on. There's a 7-link amulet, so basically you throw it into your next slot and you can socket a gem into it, and that gem will apply to your chest piece, aside from exceptional gems, enhance, enlighten, and empower. And then about 2 minutes ago, they tweeted about a shield with 3 white sockets that links all of the things socketed to whatever in your main hand. Moving on from aspirational content, the quality of life changes this expansion are going to be absolutely insane. I was losing my mind throughout the entire thing. The first thing is that deli orbs will be dropping a lot more, making the content more accessible for the early players and the players who aren't as experienced or don't have as much time. But also it's going to be more accessible for the players who had a hard time buying a lot of them, because we do 100% deli maps, etc. Like me and Beanies, we're doing this league. Trading for those was a nightmare for like the first month of the league, because you would have to buy them one at a time, and half the people weren't responding to trades, etc., etc. So having more of a supply is going to be more incentivized to hopefully make people trade. Awaken our bonus objective on the Atlas now scales harder, and it takes less time. You only have to do 118 maps for all of your Awakening bonus completion, and it's going to scale from 27%. So if I go over here, if you have full Awaken bonus objectives, it gives you 27% increased effect of mods on non-unique maps, and it's going to go up to 30%, and we only have to do 118 maps to complete it instead of 164. Bonus objectives also got a large buff. So for each map that drops, it used to be, or for each bonus objective you have, it was 1% increased chance for maps to drop. It is now 1.5. So 118 times 1.5 is going to be a lot more maps. All future resonators will be the chaotic tier, not alchemical, which is huge. Having to scour items when you ran out of alchemical, or when you ran out of chaotic resonators, was really obnoxious. It's really helpful for crafters not having to like carry around scours, bulk buy things. A really, really large change that has been affecting me a lot recently is your hideout crashing no longer kills your instance, because it's saved separately from what is actually like within your hideout. It is saved to your map device, I think. Something wild. I don't know. But as soon as you would crash, it would crash your hideout and also take your instance with it. So you might lose like an Ashling tier 4 that you were trying to sell, which happened to me like 4 days ago. It was really frustrating. They're semi-reverting the flask changes to old flasks through like tiers of ailment immunity and other fixes on flasks. So the higher item level the flask is, from the higher level zone that it drops from, the better tiers that it can roll for ailment immunity or increased flask effect. So everything will be dropping in stacks. So things like scarabs won't be dropping in stacks, but all of these small currencies, alts and transmutes and scrolls and chaos and all of this, they won't drop one at a time. Instead, they will accumulate throughout your character's ID, I guess. I don't really know how they fixed it. But as you go along, instead of just dropping one alt at a time, the game will wait for you to drop a certain amount. And once you hit that breakpoint, they will just drop as a stack from the enemy that would have dropped it. Very important. No more risk problems much less RSI. A lot of people had wrist problems, joint problems in their hands. Scarabs and incubators. Incubators at the same item level now stack up to 10, which is absolutely insane. Scarab farming was a huge problem in Delhi because you would run out of inventory space before you actually even got to grab all of your scarabs because you only get 6 portals. So this is just a huge quality of life change for in-game farmers, such as myself, and it is absolutely insane. Another thing that was really annoying when you were doing 5-way carries was you couldn't be promoted back to the party leader, and so the other person's like loot allocation, if they invited you back to the party if you crashed or something, would be applied to the party. It was really obnoxious. I'm sure there's other situations that I haven't really thought about, but you can promote somebody to the party leader, just like you can in every other game except for this one until now. Expedition, which is hands down a great concept, just a bad patch for the game, is now core and is replacing Parandus. So like the Deli Orbs, the Parandus Deli Orbs, Decadent Incubators, things like this will all be changed to Kalgurin, and they will be only in standard. You won't be able to actually get them throughout the league, as far as I understand. There's considerably more life on the passive tree, which is next level, very good. You were very gated into picking the same life nodes on every character, and now having some options here is going to be very, very nice. Another thing for closer to in-game characters, Awaken Gems will be much more worth at max level. Things like Multi-Strike and Brutality, applying Crush and Intimidate on hit, which are both really, really big boons to physical damage builds. Control Destruction gives a nerve on hit. Minions, Awaken Minion damage does minion level, things like that. It's very, very, very nice that they're buffing them all again. Powerful defensive buffs across the board. Baseline, they're going to be increasing Evasion, ES, and Armor by quite a lot, as well as the health we just talked about. But more so, these are the bases. They're getting rid of Dodge. Dodge is no longer a thing, but Spell Suppression is. And so that's going to be, well, we'll have to see how that pans out, but it's sounding like it's going to be a really good system. There is a lot, and I mean a lot, this should have been bolded, of variability through new masteries per wheel on the skill tree. And what I mean by that is if you come down here and you look on each of these circles, there's like a button in the middle that's just hollowed out, or they have like little icons for based on what the little wheel is about. Like this one's about bleeding, this one's about axes, you know what I mean? This one's about impale. These are now going to be buttons that you can allocate a skill point into. Yeah, like this one right here, the attributes mastery for this wheel. So this wheel is now going to be going to the left. They're making a lot of passive trait changes visually, but there will be a button in the middle of this that's going to be able to give you increased attributes, increased damage per 5 of your lowest attribute, and you get to choose one of these when you fill this wheel out and grab the notable. That is a massive change in variability for builds. They're making a lot of things more accessible for builds through that. It's going to be very, very nice. Another thing, mines and traps no longer die instantly. So there's a node somewhere up here for when you throw your traps and mines down. They can't take damage for like 5 seconds. I think it's this one. Yeah, traps cannot be damaged for 5 seconds after being thrown, neither can mines. That is not baseline. They could die instantly, which is really frustrating on trapping and mining builds while leveling and while mapping and just doing anything. But now they all get 2 seconds for free immunity, and that is being removed from this node here, I believe. That or it's making them immune, I can't remember. But very, very, very big quality of life change for people playing mines and traps. This one is very big. All veiled craft tiers unlocked upon the first unveil for that craft. So if you unveil 5 to 8% fire and chaos res, you are also unlocking the 13 to 15% craft. Metamod crafts are no longer going to be gated by prophecies. They're actually going to be available throughout normal mapping. That means that prefix cannot be changed, suffix cannot be changed, and multi-mod, things like that, cannot roll attack mods and caster mods, etc., are going to be available just throughout normal mapping, and you'll get them much earlier and not have to pay multiple exalts. Corrupted items from the new mechanic can be modified by tainted currencies that are only going to drop throughout the Scourge mechanic. So once you go into the separate realm and stay there for as long as you can before you die or fail or it ends or whatever, you will be dropping tainted fusings and jewelers and divines and hopefully everything else. Hideout improvements. The favor system to buy decorations is now gone. For anybody who's been playing for a while, you know that you probably have an infinite, and you could build whatever kind of, hideout you wanted. I have 25 million, and each thing, like the biggest items cost 35,000, you know what I mean? Like, it is just infinite amount of favor at this point, but it gated a lot of new players into not making really nice hideouts that they enjoyed. And it's a very outdated and boring system. Very glad they're getting rid of that. Things are now tagged in the decorations page. So there will be a tag list up here where you can type in or you can click tree, and it will just show all of the trees that you can add to your hideout. Guild improvements. Guilds stashes are no longer like having to drag and drop things. You can now control click with affinities into your guild stash, which is really good for people group playing or people who play a lot with their guild but maybe not play in a group, people who just share currency for fun. The guild hideout now exists, so we're going to be able to design a hideout for your guild, which is going to be absolutely insanity. It's going to be super cool. There's going to be new layouts for it. You won't be able to use your base layouts that you have already available through Helena. So these are not going to be the guild hideouts, but you'll probably still have to talk to her for like select guild hideout, etc. You can use the guild map device as if it's your own. So it will save your instance of the map device and show you your portals, but it won't show other people your portals unless you guys are partied up. So they won't be able to just randomly yoink your portals because they won't exist for them. They won't be able to mess with them. So a lot of people could just use the guild hideout if they enjoy it more than their own, or if they just want to be there and hang out with the guild and see the other guild mates and see what they're up to. And that is the end of the quality of life changes that I could remember. If I missed anything, let me know. The delve accessibility and power changes are, for the second time in a row, very, very cool. They're going even further. They're leaning even further into what they were doing last time. They are making it harder to go further down, but much more rewarding much earlier on, which is very cool. They rebalanced the entire thing around easier access, so it's going to be harder earlier on, but not in the one-shotty way. It's just going to take you longer to kill things. You are going to start further down after the campaign, so instead of finishing the campaign and going straight to delve monster level 68, which is like depth 100 and something, you're now going to start at level 90, which will start you at level 81 because they're modifying it to be relative to T14, T13 maps. Enemies have way more life, but do way less damage, which is going to be interesting. Mods from Delve now have a chance to drop Fractured. A small chance, but a chance nonetheless. So the +1 Spectre chest or the Curse or the Aura modifiers can now just drop Fractured instead of not happening ever. That is now a possibility. Delve rewards have been ramped again to compensate for the loss of fossils and resonators elsewhere. So maps and heists and everything will no longer be dropping as many resonators, as many fossils, or anything else that comes specifically or exclusively, but not really exclusively from Delve. Those will be dropping a lot more in Delve. Darkness farming might be OP from the above changes, especially with the new Trickster Ascendancy that's replacing Ghost Shroud. So basically half the time you won't take damage over time, and Darkness does damage over time. So this might be a strategy that's coming back. Less small random chests at the nodes, so you won't just see like 17 chests lined about once you finish a node, but each chest that you do open is going to be more rewarding. And that's pretty much all of the Delve changes that I could remember. Passive tree masteries and rebalance. There are 6 new Keystones, and also Versatile Combatant is being changed into, or is being changed from a Gladiator's Ascendancy into an actual Keystone on the tree. Okay, so to go over the new Keystones, we have Mage Bane. It's basically Dex is no longer giving an inherent bonus to evasion. It's going to grant spell suppression chance because dodging is no longer a thing. And they wanted to scale spell suppression pretty strongly. Iron Will, strength damage bonus, now also applies to spells. This could be creating some very fun interactions. The super powerful Ghost Dance for Ghost Shroud's Ascendancy from Trickster is now being moved into the actual skill tree. It is now an actual keystone that everybody can grab, and I can't imagine very many ES builds not grabbing this. It's absolutely insane. Basically, anytime you get hit while you have a Ghost Shroud, it grants you 3% of your evasion into your ES. So if you have 100,000 evasion, it'll give you 3,000 ES. Leave Shade. Take less damage over time if you haven't taken any recently, but you have more duration of ailments on you. It's kind of useless and bad. Not really sure how this is going to work. Solipsism. Int does not give an inherent bonus percentage increase to energy shield, but it lowers the duration of ailments on you by 1% instead. So right now, if you look at your character panel, it shows you that intelligence, every 5 intelligence gives you 1% increased energy shield, which is very big for people who stack a lot of intelligence like myself. It gives me quite a bit. However, the duration of ailments, I don't think you're really going to take this because of the way that they're changing ailments and reverting a lot of the things that they did this league, which made them feel very bad. Divine Shield. ES cannot recover above your armor rating. Kind of crazy depending on how much ES you're stacking, but usually it's easier to scale armor than ES by a long shot, especially with the changes coming. But physical damage prevented is regenerated as ES over time. I believe it's 30% of physical damage that you mitigate is now being regenerated instantly to help combat the oh, I took damage and I'm no longer gaining any energy shield at all. And then the Versatile Combatant is also being changed because it's transitioning from a very powerful Ascendancy into a Keystone available to everybody. They nerfed it a bit. You now have 50% max spell and attack block. However, every 2% attack block that you have over cap is going to equal 1% actual spell block. So for the new skills, they came out with some really interesting looking, really fun looking new skills. Energy Blades. Looks really sick. Looks like you're throwing lightsabers, and they deal damage based on your overall energy shield. Temporal Rift. So this is like alter time in WoW. So for any WoW players, you know what I'm talking about. But anybody who doesn't play WoW, it's like if you use it when you're right here, and then 4 seconds later, you're over here, and you lost all of your ES and mana, but you're not dead yet, you teleport back to every save state that you had of your ES, life, mana. Tornado. You literally summon a tornado, a lot like Twister from Diablo, I think it's called. Except when you fire into this, when you fire any projectiles into this, it does more damage and takes on the element that you're doing damage, doing damage to it with. So it'll become fire if you use cremation into it, things like that. And then last but not least, poisonous concoction. It's a lot like explosive concoction that they released this league, where it took charges from your elemental flasks that you had available and did damage based on the one that it took flask charges from. However, this one is scaling off of using your life flask, not your elemental flask. So you will have less life flask charges. However, you will be throwing poisonous concoctions that do chaos damage. And then last but not least, for all of the new changes, there are new link skills. Very good for duo and very good for party play. Not really usable as solo unless you're doing a minion build. But if the thing you're linked to dies, you die. However, if you link to something and you die, the other thing does not die. It's only if you link to something and that something that you link to, that you chose to link to, dies. You can't, like, grief your whole team, basically. So Soul Link is damage taken from your linked member's energy shield. So the percentage of the damage that you take is instead also... It's like mind over matter, I guess. So, but instead of taking damage from your mana, you're taking it from the ES of your linked party member. Going to be pretty powerful defensively, but Protective Link is just absolutely insane. With the new changes to block and how everybody can scale it pretty easily now on the tree. And then your party member gains your block, and they also get life gain on block. So every time that they block, using the block chance that you're giving them, they're gaining life back, which is an incredibly powerful mechanic that's been in the game for a while. Very abusable, very cool. I like it a lot. Intuitive Link. So a spell is triggered from the target's location when they hit an enemy. So if you're linked to somebody and they're channeling Cyclone, they cast the spell that your intuitive link is linked to. So if you have it linked to a, let's say Spark, they will be casting Spark from you, but it'll be coming out of them while they hit things. And then the last three were going to be coming out later. They are out on Path of Exile's Twitter, which I can link down in the description after this. But that pretty much sums up everything. If I missed anything, let me know, please. That way I can maybe make some posts. Join the Discord. That helps me a lot. Grow the community. Keep up to date with everything. Sub, like, those things. You hear YouTubers ask for them all the time. They're important. Come see me on Twitch. Kalecgoose on Twitch. Same username. I will be live there streaming my entire practice runs, theory crafting for the new builds, for the new League 1's PoE updates. Thank you guys for watching.